Hello everyone, I hope you're enjoying your social distancing as we deal with the coronavirus. We're all staying at home, schools have been canceled, a lot of businesses have been shut down. We've had to cancel church, unfortunately, here at Quinton Baptist. I wanted to make this video, and hopefully I'll make a couple more going down the line, to connect with you guys, to help you guys continue to learn, continue to look into God's Word during this time. I'm going to be handling a topic dealing with the coronavirus, and I hope to make a couple more videos about this. So if you guys have any issues that you specifically think you'd like to hear handled, please let me know. I'd be glad to talk about it. But today, I'd like to start by just asking a question, and this is a question that I think a lot of people have been asking with this, and the question is why? Why the coronavirus? And we can even back up from there. Why sickness in general? Why do people get cancer? Why do people get the flu? Why do people get sickness? And why do people die? Why do we have these problems? Why are there problems in the world? Now, there are a lot of answers that can be given to that. That's a very complex question. Some people would say that it's because of the sin of humanity. When Adam and Eve sinned, sin entered the world, and with that came sickness, disease, and death. And that's definitely true. Some people would maybe want to point to maybe it was an individual sin. Maybe there's a specific problem that God is dealing with, that God is judging. And we do see examples in the Old Testament of God judging people with sickness for sin that they specifically commit. But we don't necessarily know if that's what's happening right now. Some people think maybe it's an individual sin. You know, we read in the book of Job, Job's friends come along and tell Job, all the bad things that are happening to you, they must be because of your sin. But again, this is an issue that is so widespread right now that I don't know if we can put it on anyone's sin at this point in time. In fact, I would be very hesitant to want to do that. So then why do we have all of this? And I'm just going to give one reason, and this is a reason that came from a verse I've been thinking a lot about recently. And it's in John chapter 9, and it's John chapter 9, verse 3. And the reason is this. Maybe the coronavirus exists right now to make God known, to reveal God to other people. Let's look a little bit about what Jesus has to say about that here in John chapter 9. And what's happening in this situation in John chapter 9, Jesus is walking past a blind man. And this blind man is a beggar. He has spent his entire life begging. Because he's blind, he hasn't been able to get a good job. And Jesus' disciples turn to Jesus, and they ask him this question. They say, why? Why is this man blind? They say, is he blind because his parents have sinned? Is he blind because he has sinned? They just want to know why. Now, I honestly think that the disciples were really looking to learn here. The disciples were really looking to get a lesson out of this, kind of understand a little bit about why the world works the way it is. Why do some people get born blind? Why do some people get illnesses? Why do some people get sicknesses? And Jesus' answer is very interesting here. In John chapter 9, verse 3, it says, Jesus answered, "It was neither that this man sinned, nor his parents, but it was so that the works of God might be displayed in him." That's Jesus' answer to this question. Why was this guy blind? Because the works of God it was going to be displayed in him. Now, imagine for a moment being that blind person, maybe overhearing this conversation. You know, you finally get this opportunity to hear why you had to spend your entire life being blind. Think about all he's suffered. Think about all that he's gone through. And he finally gets this answer for why he's been blind. And the answer that he gets is so that God can be made known. And you know, if that was me, my immediate response would have been, okay, couldn't God have been made known while I had the ability to see? Like, why did I have to be blind so that God was going to be made known? But you know, we don't necessarily get that. We don't get that question and answer here. We don't get that in this passage. All that we do get is that this man's blindness was specifically designed to make God known. So what about today? What about the coronavirus? What about the sickness that we go through today? What if maybe we changed our perspective a little bit and asked the question, can we use this illness, can we use the coronavirus to make God known? To make people see God, to glorify God? Now that brings me to my second point, and this is kind of the point that I want to drive home a little bit today, and that's the fact that God was made known not because of the illness, but because of what happened next. God was made known because of how Jesus responded. God is going to be made known today by how Christians choose to respond to the coronavirus. Going forward in John chapter 9, the way this all unfolds is Jesus makes some mud out of some of his spit and puts it on the guy's eyes and tells him to go wash himself. And the guy all of a sudden is able to see. And everyone kind of gets amazed at it. There's this huge debate between him. He gets brought before the Pharisees, and the Pharisees start accusing him of things. And he says, I don't know what's going on. I just know that I was blind, and now I can see. And then Jesus catches up with him later, and he believes in Jesus. He follows Jesus. Because of what happened, God gets made known in this guy's life, in the life of a blind man. And it didn't get made known because Jesus left him there. It got made known because Jesus took action. And Jesus followed up with him. Jesus came back to him at the end of the story. Jesus didn't just heal him of his blindness and let him walk away. Jesus followed it up with action. So what about us? What about Christians today? Here's the question that we have to deal with. How are we responding to the coronavirus? You know, the big thing to do right now is to get home, to be in your own safe place at home. And you know, I know a lot of the teenagers here love that because it gives them a ton of opportunity to play some video games, catch up on TV, you know, text with friends. It's a great opportunity to kind of build yourself in and just have fun, relax, enjoy life a little bit. A lot of us are looking at this as a vacation. Now, I'm not saying don't enjoy yourself a little bit, but I'm saying what if we as Christians looked at it slightly differently? What if we looked at it not as a vacation, but as an opportunity? An opportunity for what? To connect with your family again, to connect with those in your house again. You know, it would be great if families started spending time together during this time. It would be great if families started doing devotions together during this time. It would be great if families start talking about how they feel with each other during this time. And then let's not just restrict it to families. I'm making this video to put it out on the internet because that's what we can do. We have the technology to do that nowadays. We have the technology to impact each other through the internet, through texting, through phone calls, through FaceTime. We have so much technology at our hands that we can, even within our own house, still reach out and impact other people. So are we doing that? Are we thinking about what we can do with our time instead of just enjoying our time? Are we thinking about how we can glorify God with our time instead of just what we're doing, instead of just having fun? You know, when I have been doing some research about the coronavirus, and I've come across a couple articles, and if you go to a website called the Gospel Coalition, they've got a couple articles about this, but they're about Christians throughout history and how they've responded to different plagues and diseases that came out. And overwhelmingly, we see that Christians were almost always on the forefront of the battlefield when dealing with sickness, when dealing with disease. During the bubonic plague, during the Black Plague, during a lot of the other sicknesses that were out there, Christians always seemed to be the ones being the light on a hill for other people. They were the ones sharing hope with people. They were the ones sharing God with people. And they were the ones ministering to people's needs. I felt challenged when I read that because I was challenged by the faith of those who've gone before me. And them putting that faith into action. And them spending their time trying to make God known in the middle of an illness. In the middle of an epidemic, in the middle of this disease. So I ask the question, what are we doing? What are we as the Christians doing? Are we standing up? Are we being a light on a hill, as Jesus describes it? Are we being the salt and light of the earth? Or are we using this time to socially distance ourselves, to remove ourselves from the world? My encouragement to you guys is be active. Let's take advantage of this coronavirus situation. Let's do something real to impact people for God. Here at Quinton Baptist Church, unfortunately, we're in a position where we've had to close some of our activities. We'll be putting up our service this Sunday on a live stream on the internet, and we're so thankful that we have the ability to do that because we're not able to get a lot of people here in person. But we still here at Quinton Baptist, we want to continue being a church. We want to continue pulling together. We want to continue reaching out. We want to continue to impact our community and those around us. So what are we doing? Are we looking to take advantage of this? And are we looking to be Christians who want to make God known? What if God's answer to why we have this coronavirus, and there's probably many answers to this, but what if his answer is the coronavirus is here so that people can see God?